Her name is Paula Pant, and she is the founder of Afford Anything, a popular website at the intersection between building wealth and living your best life. Afford Anything covers investing, financial freedom, passive income through real estate, and general money savvy.
Because my talk is a little bit counterintuitive and runs contrary to, I think, a lot of the popular ideas that are out there. And in fact, it runs contrary to what I myself thought and believed as recently as a year ago. So my talk, as you can see, is titled Why I Decided to Stop Serving My Audience. It's intentionally provocative, which as bloggers you know something about. It's a clickbait headline. And here's where it comes from. About a year ago, well, let me take this back a little bit. I've been blogging for 6 years. How many of you have been blogging for, let's say, more than 2 years? More than 3 years? 4? 5? 6? 7? 8? 9? Wow. 10? PT 11? Jackie, 12? Wow. Okay, that deserves a round of applause. So for the majority of time that I have been blogging, I have always believed, and I've always heard the message, serve your audience. Serve your audience, serve your audience. Your blog is an active service to them. It is not intended for you to simply write about, like, this is what I had, chocolate chip cookie. It's a place where you educate and entertain and inform your audience, and you create something online such that your audience's life will be better as a result of having encountered your blog or whatever medium you're in, podcast, YouTube. All of these are simply mediums through which you communicate with your audience. And so for the majority of my time as a blogger, that's the message that I very much internalized and believed and ran my business around. And in order to do that, in order to find out how I could best serve my audience, what I used to believe and what I used to tell everybody was that I needed to find out what they wanted to know, what they wanted to learn, so that I could better serve them. And so what I did, and I think this is fairly common, is I would survey my audience. I would ask them questions. What are you struggling with right now? I had an autoresponder series in which the very first email within that autoresponder said, hey, please hit reply, because this improves deliverability rates, and please hit reply and answer 2 questions. What is your biggest dream, and what's keeping you from getting there? So I had all of that information from them. I had surveys that I sent out to them. I segmented my email list into Airbnb and real estate and online business, and within each one, I would survey my audience and ask them all types of specific questions. I ran heat maps on my site, in which I would look at what articles people would spend more time reading, where they were clicking, where they were hovering over. I ran analytics in which I could see the average read on a given article. I looked at Google Analytics to look at the way that traffic flowed and how people were passing from one article to the next. I would look at the articles that got more social shares, more likes, more comments, more engagement. I ran a very data analytics-based business for years. And I believed that all of this was in service of serving my audience. Because after all, the more data, the more analytics that I could collect on what my audience likes, well, then it seemed to me that once I had that information, I could understand how to better serve them. I could understand their pain points and then try to find the solutions for that. And so last year, in particular, I became very enthusiastic about this, and I gathered all kinds of information, and I used tools to aggregate these into word clouds so I could see the big words that popped up. I mean, I gathered a lot of information. And after all of that was done, I completely lost interest. My heart just wasn't in it anymore. And I didn't feel inspired, and I didn't really care that much. And it took me a long time to figure out why that was happening. Why, now that I'd spent 6 years as a blogger, slowly growing this thing. I mean, year one, like nobody read it, not even my mom. And so, how is it that after all of this time, once I finally had an audience, once I finally had gained some traction, why was it that now I was starting to lose heart? And what I realized after about a year's reflection was that design by consensus, by definition, it leads to average results. If you are asking the entire crowd, what do you want? And you are just playing to that peak within the bell curve. I mean, you are, quite literally, you are going after the average. You are going after the average response. You are going after the keywords. You're not necessarily creating something that is unique and inspired and authentic to your own voice. And what really connects with an audience isn't 5 ways to save more money necessarily. It isn't you answering a specific question about that they're asking. What connects with an audience is you being yourself and leading them. What I've discovered is that if all I did was ask my audience what they wanted and then followed in their footsteps, well then I'm not the leader anymore. I'm the follower. And if you are following your followers, well, then who's in charge? If all I were to do was simply pander to the crowd and tell them what I think they want to hear, I don't see how I could really be a leader, and I don't see how anything that I say could truly be inspired or authentic. If I'm looking at data analytics and I'm saying to myself, I've got to write an article about X and Y and Z because that's what my audience says they want me to write about, how good of a blog post is that going to be? I mean, really, is that going to be the type of blog post that I want to leave as a legacy? I don't think it's going to be that good. And what's ironic about this is that as bloggers and podcasters and YouTubers, we are quite literally in the business of being liked. Our business, our careers, depend on getting Facebook likes, getting Instagram likes, getting Twitter followers, getting people to sign up for our email list, getting people to share our stuff. People buy products and courses from us because they like us. We are quite literally, our futures are dependent on people liking us. This is like a middle school popularity contest blown up into a career, which, I didn't really do that well in middle school, so we can maybe unpack that later. But that's what we're in. We're in the business of being liked. And ironically, counterintuitively, I suspect that the best way to be liked or to win at the business of being liked is by not caring. It's by not caring about whether or not your audience is going to like what it is you have to say. Not caring about whether or not they even want to hear what you have to say. In order to be liked, you have to be you. You have to be authentic. You have to be inspiring. You have to be the leader and not the follower. And you cannot do that if you spend all of your time pandering to the crowd, because that is the opposite of truly writing from the heart. Some of the best blog posts, Instagram, whatever you call that thing that's written under the photo in Instagram. Some of the best stuff I've read on the internet has clearly come from people who appear as though they basically wrote a journal entry intended to be read by anybody else, one that was authentic and that came from the heart, and then published it. gussied it up a little bit, and we edited it, but then published it. Those are the pieces that connect. They resonate on an emotional level. And those pieces don't come from word clouds that tell me that my audience wants to know more about A and B and C. And they're really wondering if I can explain what type of homeowner's insurance I buy. That's not the stuff that connects. Now, if I'm not serving my audience, the natural follow-up question is, well then, am I only writing about myself, or am I only writing for myself? Because if that were the case, then that would seem a little narcissistic. It would seem a little self-aggrandizing, just self-absorbed. And so my answer to that is no. I'm not trying to serve my audience, but I'm not really writing for myself either. What I'm doing is I'm spreading a message. I'm serving an idea. And that's what I'm trying to put out there. I am the messenger of a philosophy, of an idea that I am trying to spread. And I am going to spread these ideas, which I believe in, regardless of whether or not that's what people say they want to hear. Because 100 years from now, here's where I get a little morbid, 100 years from now, myself and everyone in my audience are all going to be dead. But the ideas will live on. That is the legacy that we create as people in the public sphere, as bloggers and podcasters and YouTubers. We are people who spread ideas, which will live far beyond us, generations down the line. And that's what I'm here to serve. At the end of the day, there are only two reasons why anybody would ever read any blog. Number one is the quality and originality and uniqueness of the idea. And number two is the quality of the expression of those ideas. In other words, you've got something to say, and you say it well. If you can do those two things, and notice those things have nothing to do with finding your audience's pain points, or with speaking to what you think they want to hear. Those two are simply about having an idea and saying it well, saying it in a way that's entertaining and authentic and inspiring. If you can just nail those two things, everything else will take care of itself. And ironically, counterintuitively, you may find within the business of being liked that if you nail just these two things, you may find yourself eventually more liked than you otherwise would be, more popular, with more of an engaged audience than you otherwise would be if you did stay true to an authentic message. So, thank you.